So Apple just released a MacBook for $599, and that alone is kind of wild because for years, MacBooks have started at around $1,000 or more. But this one is different. It's called the MacBook Neo, and instead of using Apple's usual M series chips, it runs on an iPhone processor, which has led a lot of people online to just dismiss it almost immediately. It's just an iPhone chip, it only has 8 gigs of RAM, it's clearly going to be slow. But I've been using the Neo as my everyday laptop for the last week as part of my workflow making these videos here on YouTube. And honestly, it has kind of surprised me. In fact, there's one thing about this laptop that genuinely caught me off guard, but we'll get to that in a minute. The real question is, what do you actually get for $599? And more importantly, what did Apple have to sacrifice to get the price this low? This is my review of the MacBook Neo. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jackington. After spending the last week using the MacBook Neo as my main laptop, I actually think that this might be one of the most interesting Macs that Apple has released in years. Apple's positioning for the Neo is pretty clear. On their website, they describe it as love at first Mac, an amazing Mac at a surprising price. Welcome to the family. So this laptop is clearly designed as an entry point into the Apple ecosystem. It's aimed at first-time Mac buyers, students, casual users, people currently using cheaper Windows laptops, or even people considering an iPad with a keyboard. And strategically, that makes a lot of sense. Once someone buys one Apple device, there's a pretty good chance that they'll eventually go on to buy more. Your Mac talks to your iPhone, your AirPods switch between devices automatically, files airdrop instantly, everything just works together. I'll be honest though, I wasn't really sure about the name. Neo doesn't really fit alongside Air and Pro, but the more that I thought about it, the more it actually makes sense. Neo literally means new in ancient Greek, and it also helps the laptop stand out in the conversation. If Apple had simply just called it MacBook, which sounds cleaner, it probably would have got lost in the lineup. MacBook Neo at least feels like something different. But the real headline here is the price. The base model starts at $599 with 256 gigs of storage, which makes it the cheapest MacBook that Apple has ever sold. That's the same as a Mac Mini, but of course with that you need to bring your own display, keyboard and mouse. There is also a configuration with 512 gigs of storage and Touch ID built into the power button, which is the model that I went for. It's not essential, but unlocking your Mac instantly with your fingerprint or approving Apple Pay purchases without having to type a password is a really convenient feature. That said, if you already own other Apple devices, then there are workarounds. Your Apple Watch can unlock your Mac automatically when you get close, and your iPhone can confirm payments when you're buying something online. If you're choosing between the two models, then my advice is always the same. Buy as much storage as you can, because once you buy it, you can't really upgrade it later. And with only one full speed USB port, relying on external drives all the time can get a little bit annoying. So let's talk about the design. Even though this is Apple's cheapest laptop, it doesn't feel cheap at all. You still get a full aluminium enclosure, which immediately makes it feel more premium than a lot of cheaper Windows laptops with plastic builds. And that is something that Apple has always been very good at. Even when they make a cheaper product, the build quality still feels solid and durable. It comes in 4 colours: silver, blush, citrus and indigo. I have the silver model, which looks great. I love the white keycaps, it is super clean. It actually reminds me a lot of the old polycarbonate MacBooks that I used to use in school. It's very nostalgic. On the others, the keyboard subtly matching the enclosure colour is a really nice detail. But I'm not too hot on the other colours. I think that indigo looks nice, but citrus, I am not so sure about that one. I haven't seen it in person yet though. But I'm curious, which colour would you pick? Let me know down in the comments. I do think that Apple missed an opportunity here. The iMac comes in 7 colours, and I kind of wish that the Neo came in the same to match. I would absolutely buy a bright orange MacBook Neo in a heartbeat if Apple made one. Until then, I've stuck one of my very bright orange wallpapers on it. You can find them at jackington.com. The display is a 13-inch liquid retina panel with a resolution of 2408 by 1506 and 500 nits of brightness. Coming from my 16-inch MacBook Pro, it naturally feels smaller, but the quality is still excellent. Colours look great, contrast is solid, and it is perfectly usable indoors. Outside on a cloudy day, it's also fine, although direct sunlight can make things a bit harder to see. You don't get True Tone like you do on the Air, or the fancy 120Hz ProMotion, or the mini LED display from the Pro models. But for a laptop at this price, it looks great. It's a little bit bigger than the 13-inch MacBook Air, as this has got bigger bezels around the display, but it's just as lightweight at 1.23 kilograms. It's really compact and easy to carry day to day. Ports are where things get a little more interesting. You get two USB-C ports on the side, but only the left one supports full USB 3 speeds. You also get a headphone jack, which is actually a nice surprise, dual firing speakers, which do the job. There's no MagSafe charging though, but these days USB-C is pretty common anyway. There are also a few other omissions. There's no backlit keyboard, which I actually think is one of the bigger compromises. Back when I was a student, the backlit keyboard on my MacBook Pro just made it so much easier to take notes in darker lecture halls. Typing on the Neo in low light mostly relies on the glow from the display. It works, but it's definitely not ideal. The trackpad also isn't a force touch haptic trackpad that you'll find on the other MacBooks. This one physically clicks instead. If you've used one of the newer haptic ones, then this one does feel a little bit strange coming back to, but functionally it works completely fine. Overall, the design still feels very much like a MacBook, just with a few compromises to hit that lower price. Now, it also kind of reminds me of the 12-inch MacBook that Apple released back in 2015. That laptop was incredibly thin and lightweight, but it was also pretty controversial. It only had a single USB-C port for charging and data, and it used Intel's Core M chips, which were not exactly fast, to put it nicely. But looking back, it almost feels like a computer that arrived before the technology was ready for it. And in many ways, the Neo feels like the version of that idea that Apple always wanted to make. A simple, lightweight MacBook, but now with a chip that's actually powerful enough and at almost half that original price. Now, the real controversy with this laptop isn't to do with the design, it's the chip inside, but performance was actually one of the biggest surprises for me. This thing runs on the A18 Pro chip, the same processor used in the iPhone 16 Pro, and that has led to a lot of people online to just dismiss it. But what many people forget is that the M series chips were originally built on the same architecture as the A series. They're very closely related. Performance-wise, the A18 Pro actually ends up being very comparable to the M1 chip that launched in the MacBook Air back in 2020. In Geekbench tests, my Neo scored 3574 in single core and 8265 for multi-core, which actually means that the single core performance is faster than the M1. Who knew that the A chips had already gotten this powerful? And single core performance is what matters most for everyday tasks. Things like browsing the web, checking emails, writing documents, switching between apps. In daily use, this computer feels genuinely quick. When I'm researching for videos, I usually have lots of apps open, Safari with lots of tabs, Notion for notes, maybe Pixelmator or Affinity open while I'm planning thumbnails. Switching between them all feels really smooth and responsive. And remember, the iPhone is basically designed as a single app device. Yes, some processes can run in the background for things like music playback or downloads, but most of the time it is just running one app in full screen. So I was genuinely surprised when I realized I could have all of these apps and windows open at once and switch between them, and the A18 Pro didn't struggle at all. Which brings us to video editing, and this is where I really wanted to see what the Neo could actually handle. Naturally, I was curious, so I tried something slightly ridiculous. The last video that I posted comparing the Sharge and Anker power banks was edited on the MacBook Neo. Well, partially. The project had 2 streams of 4K footage in a multicam clip with lots of text layers and effects. Surprisingly, the Neo handled the first cut pretty well, just cutting between tracks. Playback would drop frames occasionally, so I switched the viewer to performance mode, but it was still usable. The bigger challenge actually came from the port situation. Normally when I edit, I import the footage from an SD card and edit the project directly from an external SSD. But this doesn't have an SD card slot. And because only one of the ports runs at full USB 3 speed, I had to import over 100 gigs of footage onto the internal SSD first, then swap out the SD card adapter and move it onto the SSD. So for serious video workflows, the ports are definitely going to slow you down. Then once I started adding color grading, more text layers, extra effects, the Neo really began to struggle. So to finish the edit, I had to switch back to my usual M1 Max MacBook Pro, which exported the final video in around 7 minutes. The Neo took around 20 minutes just to reach 5%, at which point I just gave up. So yes, technically, you can edit video on the Neo, but it is definitely not designed for heavy editing with lots of layers. For smaller edits though, simpler timelines, vertical videos for social media, just basic projects, it's totally fine. I also tried a bit of gaming. Funnily enough, many Mac App Store games say that they require an M1 chip or higher, but they still launch and run on the Neo, which again just reinforces how similar the A18 Pro and M1 chips actually are. I tested Stray and it ran completely fine at the default medium settings. Even when I set everything to its highest, it was still pretty smooth. The biggest limitation is resolution. The game is locked to 1408 by 881, which is just barely above 720p, so not exactly pushing the high-res graphics here. But for casual gaming, it works. And games like Asphalt Legends run great since they were originally designed for the iPhone and then ported over to the Mac. One thing I find interesting is why Apple chose the A18 Pro chip in the first place, and it probably comes down to two reasons. Part of it is likely just Apple's supply chain strategy. Apple sells the regular iPhones for several years, but the Pro models disappear once the next generation launches. That means there's probably quite a few leftover A-series chips that were originally intended for those phones. So using the chips in products like the Neo gives them a second life. And we've already seen Apple do similar things with the A17 Pro from the iPhone 15 Pro, which ended up being used in the iPad mini. It's a classic Tim Cook move. Efficient supply chains are kind of his speciality. Then there's also the product positioning reason. Apple can't go and put a recent M chip in the Neo because then it would just compete too closely with the MacBook Air. But they also can't use something like the M1 anymore because consumers would see it as an old chip. So using last year's A18 Pro ends up being the perfect middle ground. Another criticism that you'll hear about the Neo is that it only comes with 8 gigs of RAM. But for everyday tasks, it honestly has not been a big issue. macOS has always been very efficient with memory usage. Even with quite a few apps open all at once, the system still feels very smooth and responsive. I've had Pixelmator documents open with multiple layers and it's been completely fine. Once you start pushing it harder with more layers or heavier multitasking, then yeah, you will eventually run into its limits and feel it start to slow down. Now, this also only supports just one external monitor at 4K 60. I plugged in my 5K studio display just to test it, and it works, but it does scale down to 4K. If you do plan on using an external display, I recommend that you get one that can also power the Neo and also act as a USB hub through a single cable. And that way you can overcome a lot of those port limitations. Now you can absolutely find cheaper Windows laptops than this. Some of them even come with more RAM or more storage on paper, but Apple has always been pretty good at optimization. Because Apple designs both the hardware and the software, macOS tends to just run more efficiently than most Windows laptops. That's why a Mac with only 8 gigs of RAM can still feel surprisingly fast. Interestingly, even former Microsoft executives have commented on how impressive the Neo is for its price, which suggests that this laptop might shake up the budget laptop market quite a bit. If you're using a budget Windows laptop, then let me know what model you've got. I'm curious to see how it compares to something like this. Now, one of the most interesting comparisons right now is actually between the Neo, the MacBook Air, and the iPad. For years, the MacBook Air has been the go-to laptop for students, but recently the standard iPad and the iPad Air have become much more popular alternatives because they're just cheaper. The thing is, once you start adding accessories, the price climbs quickly. An 11-inch iPad with the Magic Keyboard Folio starts at around $578. The iPad Air with the Magic Keyboard jumps to about $869. And if you're an art student and you want the Apple Pencil as well, the price goes even higher. Meanwhile, the MacBook Neo starts at $599. For that, you get a larger screen, double the storage of the base iPad, and most importantly, a full desktop operating system. iPadOS has improved a lot recently, but it still does feel a bit clunky compared to macOS. Apps don't always behave the same way, and some apps just work better on a Mac. Notion is a good example. I use it to organize all of my video projects, and on the iPad, it can just feel a bit weird and buggy. On macOS, it just works. So if you're choosing between an iPad and a Neo for productivity, I would almost always recommend the Neo. The only real exception is if you're an artist and you want to draw with the Apple Pencil. But if you had 600 quid to spend, would you buy the Neo or would you get an iPad with a keyboard? Let me know in the comments. You get a 1080p FaceTime camera, which works perfectly fine for video calls. macOS also recently introduced a new feature called Edge Light, which uses the screen itself as kind of like a ring light to improve lighting during calls in low light, and actually works surprisingly well. Battery life has been pretty solid. I've been getting around 9 hours of screen on time, and that's with me really pushing it, working in apps like Affinity or Pixelmator. Apple says it's up to 16 hours, which I can easily see for more casual use. Being a mobile chip, the A18 Pro is very efficient. Charging though is painfully slow. The Neo maxes out at just 30 watts, so a full recharge can take around 3 to 4 hours. So remember to charge up before you go to bed. Another interesting point is repairability. According to iFixit, this is actually the most repairable MacBook Apple has made in years. It has a screwed-in battery and a much simpler internal layout compared to many previous MacBooks. RAM and storage are still soldered, but overall, it's much easier to service. And I expect that that is completely intentional because the Neo seems to be designed to compete directly with Chromebooks and education laptops that are used in schools, who prefer devices that can be repaired rather than replaced. So after spending some real time with this budget Mac, here's my 4 key takeaways. First, this is easily the most affordable MacBook that Apple has ever made. Second, performance is much better than people expected. Third, the compromises are clearly intentional to separate it from the MacBook Air. And finally, for students and everyday users, this might actually be the best 600 quid laptop that you can buy right now. For the vast majority of people, it'll handle anything and everything that you want it to do. Students can even get it cheaper with Apple's education discount, with £100 or dollars off either model, bringing the starting price down to just $499. Which is funny because Apple just announced the new AirPods Max 2 with the H2 chip, and those cost the same price as this entire MacBook with a student discount. So if you're a student with 500 quid to spend, I think the choice is pretty obvious. If Apple does a second generation, I can easily see some of its weaker areas being improved. Faster charging is a must. A backlit keyboard would make a big difference for students or those working late at night. And if Apple bumps it up to the A19 Pro, that would likely bump up the RAM to 12 gigs as well, as found in the 17 Pro. Personally, I bought the Neo because I already have a 16-inch MacBook Pro, and as much as I love that machine, it is not always the most convenient laptop to carry around. It is a bit of a chunk. The Neo is much smaller and lighter, and for everyday work, it has been great. But because I still need something that is powerful enough to handle those larger video projects, the 13-inch MacBook Air would make a lot more sense for me right now. Still, if something like the Neo existed when I was back in school, I would have absolutely lost my mind, because back then getting a MacBook meant spending over £1,000, and now you can get one for 500 quid with a discount. That's a pretty wild shift. Let me know your thoughts on the Neo in the comments, especially if you're thinking of buying one. What is your use case? If you want to see my long-term thoughts on Apple's latest iPhone, go check out my 17 Pro Max 6-month review after this. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, that really helps the channel out. Subscribe and hit the bell to see more tech videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.